Hello students, today we can continue with the class of Unit 2 only. So today we will be looking into the supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Okay, so anyway you had know in brief that is what is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So it will take into the detail of this concept. Okay, so training in neural networks can be done in two ways. They are supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So here neural network can be done in two ways. That is either it can take of a supervised learning or a unsupervised learning. Okay, supervised learning where an artificial neural network with a specific input and output values and the solution is reached iteratively repeating is called a supervised learning. Means in supervised learning, as you all know, the desired output will be known or the target set will be known for the user, right? Supervised learning, we have the training data set, right? So that we can easily predict the output. It is a supervised learning. So next we have the unsupervised learning. When there is no clear link between the input data set and the target output values, then such training is called a unsupervised learning, where it don't know what the output is, right? So the humans can't predict the data such easily, so that here we don't know the training data set. Here we don't know what the input is being given and the what the target set also. This is an unsupervised learning. Okay, MLP and RBF are the supervised mode of learning. So in yesterday's class we had seen that what is multi-layer perceptron and RBF, that is a radial basis function, right? MLP and RBF are the supervised mode of learning, whereas we have the unsupervised learning, that is competitive learning and SOM, that is self organizing map. Okay, so these are the two techniques which can be used in an unsupervised learning using a artificial neural network. Okay, so first we can look detail into the supervised learning concept, that is first one, perceptron learning rule. So in previous class we had seen what is perceptron, right? How the perceptron model is built and how the activation function is been connected, right? So perceptron means where a network that takes a number of input and carries out some processing on those input and produces an output, right? It will take some I0 I1 values and it will considers the weight of that and produces the output, right? It is a perceptron where it is a basic unit of a neural network. Okay, so here this is the first learning schema of neural computing. The weights are changed by an amount proportional to the difference between the desired output values and the actual output. The magnitude of change depends on the parameter called the learning rate. If the learning rate is high, then the change in weight is bigger at every step. So the rule is given by, so here you can see the rules, that is delta Wi equals, so that symbol is a learning rate, okay, and D is nothing but the desired output, means what we see or what we desire, and Y is nothing but a actual output, and I is nothing but a int weight. So here you can see if W is the weight vector and delta Wi is the change in the ith vector, then the delta Wi where it's a proportional to a term error times the input, okay, errors in the input. And symbol here it is a learning rate, and D is the desired output, Y is the actual output which can be obtained from the considering these functions and all. Okay, single perceptron are limited to learning the simple hyperplane decision surface. They cannot handle the non-linearly separable classes. When the classes are actually hot linearly separable, then the perceptron is not effectively in properly classifying such cases. So here in perceptron model, it will consider the linear function to predict the actual class. If it collects a non-linear function, then it will not get the actual output. Okay, so this is about a perceptron learning rule. Next we have the training in MLP. Okay, So training in MLP is nothing but a multi-layer perceptron. So in MLP we have a many number of hidden layers, right? In yesterday's class we had seen that it has a many number of hidden layers, whereas in RBF we have only a single hidden layers to perform the Gaussian, where it uses the Gaussian function, and here it uses the logistic function, right? Sigmoid function, right? So MLP overcomes the limitation of a single layered perceptron. The computation is done layer wise, moving in the forward direction. The weight adjustment is done layer wise, moving in the backward direction. The nodes in the output layer compute the error as the actual output, and the desired output is known. In the hidden layers, since the desired output is not known, the error computation is propagated in the last layer backward. The standard method used in MLP is called a backpropagation algorithm. So in here you all know MLP, where it is a feed forward network. So here to consider its error rate, anyway it knows the actual desired output is known by the user, but to get the actual output, here in input layer we know the error rate, okay, but in the hidden layer, that is a processing layer, it will not knowing any error rate. It will just calculate those which is given from the input layer, those values or the summations, okay. So that will be given. In hidden layers it doesn't know any desired output or the error computation values, okay. In last layer, so here you can see the error computation is propagated in the last layer backward. The standard method used in MLP is called a back propagation algorithm. So here in last the it considers the error computation, okay. The learning step consists of two types, that is a forward pass and a backward pass. Forward pass means the outputs and the error at the output units are calculated. Backward pass means the output unit error is used to alter the weights on the output units. So here forward pass will calculate the error rate, and backward pass it calculates the weight sum, the unit error used to alter the weights on the output units to make the changes in the weights. So it is about the two steps in a MLP. So next we have training in RBF. RBF involves deciding on the centers and the sharpness of their Gaussian functions. The centers are decided first by the examining the vectors in the training data. RBFs have a advantage that one can add extra units with their center near to the inputs. So you all know RBF, radial basis function, where it has the Gaussian transfer function to in between the hidden layer to calculate the function, and it can have any number of input units, okay. So this is about the RBF. So these three, that is perceptron learning rule and training in MLP and training in RBF, are the important supervised learning in by considering the artificial neural network. Next we can look into the unsupervised learning, okay. So it is also, it can be asked for 5 marks. Write a note on unsupervised learning, okay. So you should write the definition first, then step by step points should be explained, okay. So first we have the competitive learning. So here it is the basis of unsupervised learning strategies. It consists of k units with the 8 vectors wk of equal dimension to the input data. So during the learning process, the unit with its weight vector closest to the input vector x is adapted in such a way that the weight vector becomes closer to the input vector after the adaptation. So here in this competitive learning, it have a k units with a 8 vectors. So wk will be used, and weight it will be considered, and x here will be the input vectors, and it will be calculating those values, okay. The unit with the closest weight vector is termed as the winner of the selection process. So from that, which is from that group which will be the close near to the wk, then it will be the output. Okay, so that will be considered as the winner of the selection process. So the learning strategy is generally implemented by a gradually reducing the difference between the weight vector and the input vectors. The actual amount of reduction at each learning step may be guided by means of learning rate. So here it will be considering the particular input will be considered one by one, okay, which is near to the particular weight vector, then it will be considering those process selection. Okay, so it is a selection process in a competitive learning. So as you all know, in unsupervised learning, it doesn't know which are the input can be gone first into the process step. So it will consider the nearest part of the particular input values. Okay. So coherence SOM. SOM is nothing but a self-organizing map. Okay, self-organizing map was a neural network developed by a Tuvo Kohonen during the 1979 and 82. It is one of the most widely used unsupervised neural network models and employs the competitive learning step. It consists of a layers of input, each of which is fully connected to a set of output units. These output units are arranged in some topology like 2D or 3D grids. Then the input units, after receiving the input patterns X, propagates them as they are on to the output units. Each of the output unit K is assigned to a vector WK, weight vector, that is WK. So here it is one of the important unsupervised neural network where it consider the many number of inputs which is connected to the processing data and produce the output, and it can be of two-dimensional or a three-dimensional view of data set. Okay, then it has the input can be of X and the weight can be of WK. Okay, so it's a WK here we will be consider. So K is the desired output. Okay. So during the learning step, the unit C corresponding to the highest activity level with respect to a randomly selected input pattern X is adapted in such a way that it exhibits an even higher activity level in the future presentation of X. During the learning steps of SOM, a set of units around the winner is tuned towards the currently presented input pattern, enabling a spatial arrangement of input patterns such that similar inputs are mapped onto regions close to each other in the grid of output units. Thus, the training processes of SOM results in the topological organization of an input patterns. SOM takes a high dimensional input and clusters it, but still retains the topological ordering of the output. So this will be the SOM architecture. Okay, so here we can have a two-dimensional array of output units and here I-dimensional input X. So this is how we will be inputting the X and finding out the output. Okay, so many number of input will be there, and by considering the weights by which is nearest to the input, so that will be passed out or transferred outside, it is a output. Okay, so this is of an SOM architecture. So write down this all in your notes, draw this diagram also. Okay, thank you.